Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Unashamedly You podcast. Welcome to a brand new year. It is a new start, a fresh page. We've got some new goals, renewed hope. It's just a chance to realign our hearts and our mind with what truly matters most to us. So I am so excited to step into this new season together. My prayer is that this podcast continues to be a space of encouragement, growth, and a reminder that you were created with a purpose. So, no matter how you are walking into this new year, I want you to know that you belong here. Thank you for being a part of this community, for showing up and for listening in, choosing to grow. And I cannot wait to share what all is ahead for the Unashamedly You podcast. And I'm just so excited that you are here with us. Hello, and welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast, a space to enlighten, encourage, and empower you to go out and unashamedly be who God is calling you to be. I am your host, Jamie Herndon. I pray you hear less of me and more of Him as you listen to today's episode. Let's grow together. I am so excited today. We have someone that is no stranger to the Unashamedly You podcast. She's been on several episodes, and so many of you already know her from the ministry that she has herself. And we are going to talk about something that so many of you I know are interested in. This is the first podcast of 2026, and I could not think of a better way to start it than to start with all the things that we are going to discuss and that she's going to share. But before we get started, Dr. Lyndi Mullinax, if you would introduce yourself for those that may not know who you are, tell us a couple things about you.
Well, I'm Lyndi Mullinax. I am a nurse practitioner based here in Central Arkansas, born and raised here in Central Arkansas, born and raised at FPC NLR with you. I think we said this on our last podcast. Our moms are best friends, so we're more like family than anything. I spend a lot of my time over at Her Whole Health. That's the clinic that I founded last year and that the Lord has blessed to continue to grow over the last 10 months. When I'm not working, I'm spending a lot of time at the church. I volunteer at Calvary Academy. I love to read, and usually I say I love to travel, but the last few months, I really like to stay at home. I think it's been so busy that I've enjoyed just being at home, being with my family, being with my friends, that I do like to travel as well. I'm so happy to be here today.
I am so excited to have you. And all of the busy work that you're doing nonstop probably also helps you being like, okay, I just want to stay home and get a break for a second instead of all the traveling that you like to do. Before we get started on this, let's talk about something that we have going on for the first time ever. This is a first event, but not a last event, which makes it even more exciting. But we're going to be doing the HER Summit, and HER, HER, standing for Hormones, Energy, Reset, which is exactly what every woman that I know needs, no matter what age that they are. So, we're going to answer some questions about that at the very end that we've had and kind of talk more about it at the end. But right now, let's just talk about maybe some of the things that they are going to experience at Summit.
Yes, so we have some good friends of ours who are really well versed in the topics that's going to be here. We have Dr. Chelsea Hall coming in from California. She is a great friend of mine, but she's also a really amazing mental health counselor, pastoral counselor. She is great in the mental health field. And then we have Olivia Heal coming in from Live Heal Nutrition from Tennessee, and she's going to be talking about diet and kind of how to feel better naturally with food. And then we're going to have you. You're a great motivator, kind of help us set our goals for the new year, help us know how to do that. And then I'm going to be talking about hormones and health. So I think we're going to have a really good time.
We are. It's going to be amazing. The speaker lineup is so incredible. You guys, the biggest question that I keep getting is how do I pay? Where do I pay? I want to make sure I've got a seat at the table. And I just have to tell you that I had everything worked up for this to be a cost event, even just a small cost, because of course, you're coming, there is a meal provided, and there is a cost to actually Dr. Mullinax. She is sponsoring this, but she felt on her heart that God had told her, offer this for free for the first time, the first one. Let it be for free. Let women come to experience what you all have to offer. And so we went with that. And the event is going to be absolutely free. You do not want to miss this. I know we do have a speaker coming from California. We also have a speaker coming from Tennessee, but we have so many of you. A lot of you guys from Texas have been reaching out to me, some of you from Memphis, from Mississippi, and I'm excited about that as well. So I cannot wait to see all of you at Summit. Well, like I said, talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the podcast. But right now, let's talk about her whole health. You named your company this for a reason, talking about taking care of your temple. Your body is the temple of God. So, what does it truly mean to you beyond diet, beyond exercise? What is her whole health?
Well, whole health is, like you said, not just the body, not just exercise, but it's to me, it's mental, spiritual, and physical. I think we talked about this on our last podcast. You really can't have one without the other. Your mental health affects your physical and your spiritual health. Your physical health affects your mental and your physical health. So, um, it's all entwined. And for us to be wholly healthy, all three have to be aligned and the best that they can be.
As women, and you're a woman in the workforce, you've got a lot going on. Like you said, you're volunteering at the church. You've got things going on there. You've got the work, you've got family, you've got friends, you've got all this thing in life. And with me, I'm a mom. And so I also have that on my plate, and then a wife. And you've got all these things that are going on as women. We all do. So it is very often that we will put our own health last.
Yes, we do. As women, we're natural caregivers. We're wired to nurture. I think about my mother. I remember growing up when would get sick, she would come in, I'd be running a high fever, and she'd pray, God, if you can make me sick instead of her. I can't stand to see her sick like that. And I remember one heartbreak in particular. I thought the world was ending because I'd had my heart broken, and I cried till I couldn't cry anymore. I remember my mom wrapping her arms around me, and she was crying with me, and she said, "Lindy, if I could take it away, I promise I would. I would much rather be going through this than to watch you go through." So often we put others in front of ourselves so that others are our priority. We're natural caregivers, but somewhere along the way, I feel like that we as women have learned that self-neglect equals selflessness, and it really doesn't. Neglecting ourselves doesn't mean that we're selfless. Um and today's culture, you think about that, I feel like sometimes in today's culture, we're rewarded for being burnt out. It's like, oh, the busier you are, then the more you're accomplishing and the better woman that you are. Social media, we see these influencers who are starting businesses and they're making homemade bread every day, and they're taking their kids to school and making them go to all their football games and such. But I think what we're not seeing is, yeah, they've started these business, but maybe there's somebody running their business, or there's a nanny there. So we start comparing ourselves, and I think that we tend to pour out until there's nothing left, and then we feel guilty for needing help. Women don't neglect our health because we don't care. We neglect it because we care so much for everybody else, I think.
And it's just easier to neglect your own needs.
Mhm.
I was actually just talking to Matt about this the other day. I'm like, December is so busy, and November and December are so busy. And I'm like, and it's not really that I'm trying to burn myself out. And it's not that I'm trying to run myself ragged. It's that if I don't, who else is? I mean, if I'm not helping, with the school Christmas party, and then you have Christmas at your house, and, I was privileged to be asked to throw a couple wedding showers in the midst of it. And, like, I feel grateful to be able to do all those things. But at the same time, I'm like, I didn't want to run myself ragged. I didn't want to wear myself out that entire month and neglect myself. But there was no time for me involved. It's like if I didn't put myself on the back burner and put all these needs before my own, then who was going to do all the things that I did? And so I think that's one thing too, is like you said, it's not purposefully like we're neglecting ourselves. We don't care about ourselves. It's that We care so much about the needs of other people, and we care so much about those other things getting done that we think if I don't do all of these things, then they're not going to be done or it's not going to happen. And so I'll get to me later. And then eventually you can crash and burn. And then that later could be detrimental whenever that happens. So when did you personally realize, hey, my health has got to become a priority instead of on the back burner?
Well, it was after my Mimi passed away. I think we've talked about this. My mom and I were her primary caregiver for 4 years after she had a stroke. We're all very, very close to her. I between grief and just being in a job I was miserable in, I put on, like, 30 pounds. I didn't feel good. I was super inflamed. They were checking me for rheumatoid arthritis, which my grandmother had and my mom had. And so I knew I had to change something, so I lost weight. But even with that, I still wasn't quite where I needed to be. Like I said, I was in a super stressful job. Ended up having to see a cardiologist, and my history of the Lord healing my heart many years ago. And I was like, this cannot happen again. So that's when I really started paying attention to the kind of foods I was eating, because it ended up being some kind of weird hypoglycemia that was causing this stuff. But I knew something was gonna have to change, and so I began to pay attention to my health and take care of it, and it was really during that journey that her whole health was birthed. I started getting interested in, if I'm feeling this way, everybody else is too. So that's kinda how her whole health came to be, was during this journey that I was on. But, I think even sometimes after we've made those health choices, we get so busy that myself right now, I'm having to kind of put the brakes on some things, and I feel like catching everything that's going around because I haven't had time to stop. So the last few weeks, I've tried to slow things down. I've said no to some things or asked people to reschedule some things so that I can take some time to rest and to take care of myself.
So I think that's exactly what ends up starting to happen is we start making ourselves a priority whenever we're nervous, we're scared, we're like, okay, something is wrong and I can no longer put this on the back burner anymore. Instead of doing all those things before, which is what you're a huge advocate of now, is hey, before you gain 30 pounds, before you have to spend literally thousands of dollars, which is something that I personally have done, same thing. Rheumatoid arthritis panels, all these different panels, all these different things, I mean, every lab I feel like that can be ran, I've had it ran. If I haven't had it ran, what is it? Let me go ahead and get it. Because it's like I waited until you get to the point and place that something is wrong, we've gotta find it, instead of, "Oh, I'm paying attention to myself. I realize I'm exhausted. I need to slow down a little bit before we get to that point into that place." But there are some lies that come, I feel like especially around women's health, that we believe it's about rest, self-care, slowing down. Like I said, we're in a culture of hustle, of do all the things. Even if you are living slow life that people are talking about now through social media, I'm looking at that slow life and I'm going, that's not a slow life. Taking care of a million animals, going out and getting feed, getting up early in the mornings, like that's not the life. That's not the life I'm envying no matter what. We barely have a dog. Okay. Give me the city and as much concrete as possible. That's where I like it. But at the same time, even that slow living life that everyone is going off into and, homemaking and doing all these things, I think it's beautiful. I love watching it on social media and I'm sitting there looking at it thinking, but it's really not slow. It's really not rest. It's really not, no matter what is going on and what fad you're living in on social media, it's still busy.
Yes,
It's
it
still
is.
overwhelming.
I agree. I think some lies that I see that women are believing is I'll rest when everything's done. Rest is a reward and not a requirement. Other women need more rest than I do. I can do this without resting. Slowing down means that I'm falling behind. If I slow down, everything's gonna fall apart. Well, other women are doing it all. I'm seeing this on social media, and this woman is making her own bread and her own milk, and she's running for Miss whatever state it is and having several children, which is beautiful. It's great, but, I mean, if she can do it, surely I can do what's going on here in Arkansas. And then I think people think that they're afraid of being still, when the truth is to remember that rest isn't laziness, it's obedience. Jesus didn't say, "Come to me and try harder." He said, "Come to me, you who are heavy laden and who are laboring, and I'll give you rest."
I love that you said that he didn't say, come to me and try harder, which is something we all do so often. Our pastor preached an incredible message last night, and it was, New Year, and then he ended it with same God,
Yeah.
but a new me, because God's the same, and he can restore and he can change things up. And that's how I become a new me,
Yes.
is through him. And that is something that even in all of this with, no rest and the busyness and all these things. No, when we go and we take it to him, something he said in that message that was so powerful to me is he said, taking it to God, giving it to him, he can do it better. And I think about that with my own self and with this topic. Instead of taking something to God, there's so many times there's situations going on, or there's hurt, or there's, things that are going on that you don't even understand. You don't even know why they're happening to you. And even whether it be your health or whether it be any circumstances that are going on in your life. And instead of taking it to him and allowing him to give you rest, we continue to be on this hamster wheel of I'm doing it myself, I'm doing it myself, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, or how can I make this better? Or, what can I do? Instead of sometimes we just need to stop
Yeah.
and give it to God. How can we shift from seeing health? And, this could come, I feel like, with working out, or with eating healthy, with just some self care, with resting. How can we shift from seeing that as selfish to seeing it as, like you said, stewardship, to seeing it as it's a commandment?
Yeah. So, first of all, think about what stewardship is. So, I looked up the definition of stewardship, and it is the careful and responsible management or oversight of something entrusted to one's care, such as resources, property, people, or the environment, often with a focus on long term well being and ethical responsibility. It involves proactive management, ensuring that things don't fall out of balance, and acting with accountability for the benefit of others or a greater purpose rather than just personal gain. So basically, stewardship means caring for what God has entrusted you with, which includes your health. So if you think about it, we don't call it selfish to maintain our home or our car or even our family's health and well being. So why is it selfish for us to care for our own bodies? It is a commandment. He wants us to take care of ourselves, and He's here to help us take care and steward ourselves.
And that's so easy to do, especially right here, New Year. I was saying on January 1st, and then yesterday I started back in my walking, and you're wanting to eat healthy and you're thinking of all these things, which is great. Even if I just do it for 1 week, it's better than not doing it the whole
Absolutely.
the whole time. But let's be honest, like that first month in January, it seems like we're doing it, we're doing it, we're doing it. And then come February, it's easy to just fall off the bandwagon completely. So, how can we change that mindset for long term health changes instead of it just being it's a new year, new us? No, how can it be we change our mindset to where in June, we're still creating these healthy habits and doing these things. And in December, it's still going on. And by the time January hits, it's like, oh, wow, I actually did what I set out to do this year.
Well, any change is going to start with changing your mindset and giving yourself some grace to change. Romans 12:2 talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It all starts in the mind. So if you if you go about, I'm going to change my health because I've just done such a bad job and it's in such bad shape, and you kind of look at the change as punishment, you're not going to sustain it. Health sticks when it comes from compassion and not shame, and you can't really heal your health if you're self-criticizing constantly. So you've got to look at it as something for your good. Don't think about the bad things of your health and what maybe you've done that you feel like you caused your health to be this way, but have some self-grace and change your perspective on it. So we release our shame through grace. Shame keeps women stuck, while grace creates movement. Shame says something's wrong with me, and truth and grace says that something happened in my life and that change and healing is possible. So it all starts with mindset and with having some grace with yourself to be able to change.
That's probably the biggest thing to me is giving yourself grace. I mean, I'm just gonna put a plug in. If you've not listened to our pastor's message, if you were not there, or if you do not go to FECNLR, go get on our YouTube and listen to that message. It was so good, and it goes hand in hand with a lot of what you're saying right now. Giving yourself grace. It's not just, oh, I messed up this meal, so I've blown the whole day, and then I've messed up today, so I've blown the whole week, and I've messed up this week, so I've blown the whole month, and then I messed up this month, I've blown the whole year. No, it's okay. I fell off. It's one meal.
Well, like he said about the Weight Watchers meeting, that Weight Watcher instructor said, it's not about your most recent meal. It's about your next meal that matters and what your next step is that matters. It's the future. It's not what you did in the past. It's your next step.
And our health is so important. What are some warning signs that we as women especially should not brush off? Because I feel like that there's some warning signs that I have brushed off before, but I didn't even realize they were warning signs until after you brush them off enough and boom, everything comes crashing down.
Yeah. So is it really important to be in tune with and to listen to your body? Because your body whispers before it screams, and awareness is really an act of wisdom. So some warning signs or some whispers that might happen before your body just completely goes nuts is chronic fatigue. You feel like, man, I'm just tired constantly. Anxiety that's unusual for you, or severe mood changes. You just can't deal with the kids like you once could. Your husband says something, it just sets you off more than it normally would. Sleep disturbances. A real common one we see is that, man, I'm waking up every morning between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Well, maybe your cortisol's off. I'm tired no matter what time or how many hours of sleep that I get. Digestive issues, whether it's I get kind of nauseous every time I eat something. I'm dealing with some constipation. I'm vomiting more than what I typically do. Chronic headaches, skin issues. I'm breaking out for some reason. Hormone symptoms, your changes to your cycle. It's heavier than it used to be. It's not lasting as long as it did, or maybe it's lasting a lot longer, coming every 2 weeks instead of once a month. Infrequent illnesses. You're catching everything that's going around. Those are some warning signs that I would say you need to listen to and kind of get checked out.
We had talked about this before in the last one, but I mean, when I was like so exhausted, as soon as I would take the kids to school, you'd have to go back and get some sleep, and it's like nothing. And then the vitamin D. I mean, it was just a simple change and something so small, but it made a huge difference in how I felt. But I went on like that for months, thinking, putting it off for every other reason to be tired. And look, I mean, we as women put so much on our plate. We're just tired.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had 3 kids. I'm just tired no matter what. But whenever I took the vitamins that I'm supposed to take and I started feeling better, I'm like, wow, why did I go so long without this? I mean, it's just a cheap, quick fix. And instead of allowing yourself to be just ran down, that's not of God, and it's not healthy. It's not normal.
It is not.
How does hormonal health impact mental, emotional, spiritual well-being? I know that her whole health deals a lot with hormonal health and how important that really is.
So if you think about what a hormone is, hormones are chemical messengers that regulate mood, sleep, metabolism, reproduction, and immunity. So that's everything. They regulate literally every part of your body. But they don't just regulate your health as far as your physical health, but they regulate how you think, how you feel about yourself, and how you cope with things. So when you're not feeling well mentally or physically, that's going to affect you spiritually. Um, if you're physically ran down, it takes a lot more strength to get to church and to be able to worship the way you should. If mentally you're just lashing out at your husband and kids constantly, then when you make it to church, maybe a little harder to raise your hands when you're standing there next to your husband and you've just been into it for something. Because um, when hormones are off, women often feel anxious, depressed, disconnected, or even spiritually exhausted. And I have so many women who come in and they're like, "Lyndi, I've been praying about it. I've been fasting, trying to get the Lord to reveal to me why I feel so bad. I mean, I don't know if I'm doing something." Um, and so finally I just decided maybe this really is just something physical going on. And we do some lab work, and sure enough, their vitamin D's off or their estrogen's low. So sometimes the answer is prayer and lab work, to get those hormones balanced again.
I always say anyone can start a business with YouTube and God, YouTube and prayer. Like, if somebody's done it before, they've got a YouTube out about it. And your tagline is, prayer and lab work. Pray about it and go get those labs done, because God and prayer and lab work can do a whole lot to fix your body and your hormones. So you've talked some about rest. What does it look like in today's culture?
So today we live in a culture of energy drinks, of coffee shops on each corner, and thousands of podcasts and music's constantly blaring. So rest really is almost like an act of rebellion and really an act of faith today. You gotta have faith in something to be able to turn it all off and just take some time to rest. But some ways to rest in today's culture is turning off the noise, whether that means the social media that kind of makes you feel not so good about yourself. I'm on social media. Don't think that I'm like anti social media. I do social media, but I know some people are really affected by it. Turning off other people's opinions of what they think you should be doing, and turning off self comparison. You know, um, you just because somebody else is a business owner, you don't have to try to start your own business if that's not your calling. Just because somebody is able to make fresh bread every week for their family or have a cow and milk their own cows, that's amazing, but you don't have to do it if you don't have the time for that. Just because somebody else is going to all the social events and doing all the things and constantly taking their kids somewhere fun, you don't have to do it if you don't feel like that's something you can do right now. So turning it off. Um, but in today's culture, you need to be intentional about how you rest. Rest isn't necessarily sleeping. True rest isn't collapsing on the couch and scrolling the internet. It's intentional slowing down, regulating your nervous system, whether that be by turning off bright lights, letting something that doesn't have to be done just kind of sit. If it doesn't have to be done today, waiting until another day to do it. Um, putting your phone on do not disturb and just putting it away for a few minutes, maybe an hour or so. Trading caffeine for water or hot tea. Snuggling your baby, talking to your husband or your best friend, taking some time to do that. Or just trusting God enough to pause. Rest isn't a luxury. It's something that God lovingly gives. I was preparing for this last night and came across a scripture that I've never really noticed before. And so this is the Message translation version of it. And it says, "It's useless to rise early and go to bed late and work your worried fingers to the bone. Don't you know he enjoys giving rest to those he loves?" And that last line just spoke to me. He enjoys and loves giving us rest. And that just, I don't know, was amazing. He's very mindful of us.
Wow, I've never heard that as well, and I like reading the Message translations. It's a beautiful way to read God's word because so much is said in that. I think that the biggest thing that we all don't think about is, like you said, rest is glorified, and or if I think about resting, it's like, oh, like finally getting to just throw yourself on the couch or taking a nap in the middle of the day. That's not always really mental rest. Sometimes that is something's wrong with you. You're collapsing because you need those labs in prayer. So it's not always that. I mean, it could be going for a walk. It could be taking a hike. It could be there are ways to rest your mind.
Absolutely. Just being with people that you love, like I said. And not talking about bills, not talking about bad things that are going on, but just resetting and getting to be with that person you love and talking about things that you both enjoy, or just taking that baby and snuggling with them and not worrying about what their grades are doing or what homework looks like, but just enjoying being around them.
And it can bring so much rest. Another thing is prayer.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, prayer will bring rest to your soul like nothing else will. There have been times that I have felt so overwhelmed just walking into the sanctuary and sing. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is exactly what I needed. Like, God, I don't even really have the mental state to even create a prayer at this moment. I just need you. I need your presence to fill you. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, I highly recommend go to the church, get in some prayer, and take your family. Let your family be there with you, and God will give you the rest that you're looking for and need. What are some boundaries that we, especially as women, can put in order to protect our health? Like we said, instead of waiting, like we've done, we've talked about, we've all done that. Instead of waiting, what are some boundaries we can say, I'm not gonna do this, or I'm gonna set this boundary when this is going on. I'm protecting my health for my future, for my children, for myself.
So, one boundary would be not ignoring your body, paying attention to what it's saying, not overcommitting. You do not have to do it all. I think we've talked about this already, not comparing yourself to other women, um, and not being constantly available. If everybody that you're responsible for is home and are not out gallivanting the streets, running around, turn your phone on Do Not Disturb where nobody can get in touch with you every once in a while, and just have some boundaries where you're not constantly available for everybody else. To me, those are the most important boundaries.
That is hard to do, but that sounds really nice.
I can't do it. Well, I shouldn't say I can't do it. I haven't let myself, but that is my goal for the new year, is to learn to turn things off every once in a while.
So, Sabbath, you talk about that,
Mhm.
and it is so important. And I really, honestly, my whole life have heard just Sunday Sabbath, and that's just what it is. And because it's Sabbath, we go to church. I didn't really think about anything else. But I have some friends who say, Sunday is not Sabbath if you're involved in the church. If you're involved in any sort of working at the church whatsoever, that's really not your Sabbath day. Sabbath is resting. It's not working.
Absolutely. And I'm not one of these that are into that whole Sabbath thing. You have to take one day of the week and where it's like a spiritual heaven or hell thing. I just think that we need some time for rest when I talk about Sabbath. Is that we do need to take some time to rest where you don't worry about the outside world. You just take some time for you and those that you love to reset, to reconnect with God, with his word, and for both your mental, physical, and spiritual health.
And I think sometimes, though, saying that, always being raised that Sunday was your Sabbath, it's like there was no other time to rest. Like
Yeah.
that no, wasn't even that important because, oh, Sabbath means you go to church. Well, a lot of times, especially if you've got kids that you're getting ready for church, and then, like I said, if you're working or you're doing anything in the church whatsoever, if you're teaching Sunday school or if you're singing or if you're involved in music, you are not resting. Like you should be giving every bit of that to God. But there's also, that's not your rest time.
No.
There's something else that you need to do for yourself and giving it to God, and that is just being.
Absolutely.
There's something so important with that as well for, our mental health
Absolutely.
is just being.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard, especially if life is heavy.
Mhm. Well, you think about it, for the most part, Saturday is everybody's day off. I don't consider Sunday a day off because, we're involved in church, and so that's the day that we go, but Saturday is really the one day of the week that we really have off, but there's always ends up being probably the busiest day of the week because somebody's having a shower, somebody's getting married, a birthday party, and think for a true Sabbath, it's something that you have to intentionally take time for, to carve out of your busy schedule to make work.
Oh, 100%. I mean, 12 birthday parties, 2 showers, like always something that's going on. And then, one thing that you just said is saying no. That
Hard.
It's very hard, and it's easier probably if I was just saying no for myself, but then you've got kids that are wanting to go to these 12 birthday parties that I just mentioned, and you've got all these things, and it's just hard to say no, like, it is really hard, and one thing that you mentioned was it's intentional. It takes being intentional with that, and
My
we
goal this year is to take some time that maybe I'll try that this week because I've not done it yet in this new year, but just to turn everything off and rest.
one thing that I always have to think about too is, especially as a mom, I am modeling these habits for my children. My girls are watching how I am doing life and living life and what I'm doing and how I run myself ragged. And then you grow up just thinking, oh, that's just part of being a woman. It's just what we do.
Yeah, so that old mantra that we always heard, "Do as I say, not as I do," that's not where it's at. Kids learn from what they see their parents do. And when kids see mom taking time to take care of herself, intentionally getting some rest, nourishing herself, and setting healthy boundaries, then they learn that being healthy is normal, not optional. They learn by watching you, and your healing that starts this year today can actually change the health of your family tree.
We talk about and hear so much about breaking the cycle. And I'm telling you, health and rest and all those things are one thing that we don't think of as being a bad cycle that we get into, but it is. And it's something that really needs to break. And I feel like that our generation is trying to break it. We're trying to be more intentional about our health and about our mental well-being because we have seen that it's not godly.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we want to model for our own children. So if someone is listening to this right now and they're feeling extremely overwhelmed about their health, whether it be their mental health, they're like, okay, you've mentioned hormones several times or you've mentioned lab work several times. Where can someone start if they're just feeling that overwhelmed feeling right now and they don't even know where to start?
They should start with small, doable changes that can consistently be done. You know, my whole life, I've heard Bishop Holmes talk about consistency because consistency is key. He used to preach about, I know several times he's told the story of my Uncle Mike when he first got in church. He decided he wanted to be consistent in daily prayer, and he started with stopping by the church and praying for 5 minutes a day. And we see what that's turned into. He pastors a thriving church, he's written several books, and he spends probably multiple hours a day in prayer, but it started with just a small doable change of that he was consistent with. And so when you're looking at making changes, maybe you haven't worked out in years. If you've not worked out in years, I don't recommend you going to the gym and joining and being like, I'm going to work out for an hour every day or 4 days a week. Start with walking around the block 15 minutes 3 times a week and be consistent with that. And then you can kind of grow that. If you live off of sweets, you eat sweets constantly. Don't just cold turkey decide you're going to cut sugar out of your diet, but think about some small changes you can make, like instead of that piece of cake, having some fruit and choosing natural sugars over those fake sugars from sweets and desserts. So just small things that you can be consistent with. It doesn't completely just shake up your entire life.
I think it's more fun to say you joined the gym than to just literally put tennis shoes on and walk outside. We can go and we join the gym and you show up. How easy is it to just put on your exercise clothes and head out the front door? Like that's something so simple and easy that we all can do. Everyone has a driveway of some sort they can walk up and down. But what do? January, we run, we join a gym. We're going to do this. We're going to have a trainer. We're going to have all these things that we're going to do because life is just drastically changing overnight. And then we're stuck paying for that gym membership for years and the gym loves you.
I was just thinking about how much money I might could have in the bank from the years that I took advantage of 10 Fitness or Planet Fitness's $10 joining fee, and I went for like maybe a month and then paid on it for like a year or a year and a half, and the money was just wasted. The gym is not something that I get my movement in at, but I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. But
If it works, keep doing it and pay for it. But if you're just joining the gym because you want a new year, new you, put on your tennis shoes and go outside for 15 minutes and see if you, like you said, see if you can do that 3 days a week.
and if you're doing that 3 days a week and you feel like you can do more, then absolutely go join the gym. But take it from an expert gym joiner. It's not where it's at if you're not used to doing that.
And I could have like so much money in the bank if I didn't take advantage of every time Weight Watchers had a sale. And that's, I'm like, I'm not going to dare let go of that membership because the second I do, I'm about to start putting in every bite that I eat. I'm about to just really care about those points. And I think Weight Watchers is a great way to start to learn how to eat healthy. It's really helped me, but at the same time, I have paid for that so many times. And why don't I just try to eat more grilled foods before I decide to put in every single point? Oh, I don't know why we are how we are, but here we are. So, what are some more ways you talked about, walking the block, trading out the sugar? What are a couple more habits that maybe make the biggest impact over time?
Well, you said this earlier, but I had it on my answer for this question, and that's daily prayer. I mean, daily prayer just changes your mindset. When my patients come to see me and we make a plan, I give them this sheet, and on everybody's plan, daily prayer is listed on there because there is scientific evidence. We've talked about this before that people who make a habit of regular daily prayer, their health improves. There is a decrease in stress and their physical health also improves. Getting enough protein is also super important, especially in the morning. I hate to eat breakfast. I don't like it at all. My body, I need to be up for a few hours before I'm ready to eat. But really, for weight loss, for weight management. It's really important that you get protein in the morning, whether it's a piece of sausage, a piece of bacon, a protein shake. Protein in the morning, super important. Um, Getting actual restful sleep is one thing, whether that's adding some magnesium to your nightly routine to help you sleep better. Actually resting with good sleep is super important. And then managing your stress and drinking enough water. As silly as that sounds, water intake is super important.
You're really stepping all over my toes with this podcast. It's so needed for me. I hope that you guys are getting something out of that as well. Drinking enough water is not always what I love to do. I will say for the protein thing, I have started putting some protein powder in my coffee every morning because I start the morning with coffee. Anyone that knows me knows that. And adding that scoop of protein, there's some that you can get 10 to 20 grams of protein just by putting a scoop in there. There's some really good products that, are pretty clean and it's just unflavored, or you could grab vanilla or whatever if you wanted to add it.
One more little tip about water that I try to share with my patients is I'm a coffee girl too, especially first thing in the morning. I do try to limit myself to 1 cup a day. But if you can drink 4 to 8 ounces of water before you have that coffee, there's lots of good hormone effects. Those girls who kind of deal with facial hair have some kind of higher androgens than the rest. There is good research that shows that if you can kind of cleanse your body before you add caffeine to it, there's a reduction in facial hair in girls. And there's just other benefits for like cellular production in your body if you can start your morning with just a little bit of water before you add that coffee. That is something that I have the last few months been adding to my routine, and it really does make me feel better.
We buy the small water bottles, which I know that's plastics and all the things. I can't even go there. All of you that are listening to this that are very crunchy and don't drink out of a water bottle. But I will say the 8-ounce water bottle, it just helps me. I can like throw it down really fast. And so I've been trying to drink that before coffee as well. And I know exactly how much water I'm getting, and I can just drink it really quickly and then drink my coffee. So that kind of helps too. If you have an 8-ounce bottle or something small, for some reason, filling a whole Stanley up and then thinking that I need to down this beforehand,
Yeah.
I just end up not touching it. So these we're talking about small sustainable habits here that make an impact over time. It's not just those big things that we all want to start doing, like drinking 2 gallons of water a day and you haven't been drinking one 8-ounce glass. Start with the 8 ounces. What is some encouragement that you would give to a woman who feels exhausted, they feel depleted? What is some encouragement that you may would give to a woman who is just feeling completely exhausted and depleted?
Depleted is the key word there. You're not weak. You've not done anything wrong. You're depleted, and being depleted is fixable. God is an intelligent creator, but not only is he an intelligent creator, but he's a good father. I know there's that super obnoxious song, He's a good father. That song drives me crazy, but he really is. He's a good father, and he sees you, and he wants you to live your life to the fullest in him. He invites you to rest in him and to take advantage of available resources that can help you because he desires for you to be healthy.
So, like you said, whenever you feel depleted, a lot of times you can just feel done, mentally exhausted, mentally and spiritually and physically. You just feel like you're done. But like you said, that's fixable. It can be fixable. And when we start prioritizing our health, that's whenever God can start using us. When you're in a depleted state, you are not fulfilling your God given purpose. No one is in a depleted state fulfilling their God given purpose as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, as a saint, as a friend, as a daughter. As women, we cannot work from an exhausted, depleted state and still fulfill the things that God has for us. So, how does prioritizing our health allow us to be better and to be able to fulfill God's purpose that He has for us?
Well, when your body is supported and nourished physically and mentally, your calling becomes sustainable. I think about I teach kids choir at church, And when I'm not feeling good or I'm super stressed, it is kind of hard when they call and say, "Hey, can you fill in for the K4, K5 first and second grade choir tonight?" I'm just going to tell you, I'm not as patient with those sweet little kids as maybe I could be. And I feel like I can't give them their best with directing. Or I typically, about once a month, I teach an extra functional medicine based science class at Calvary Academy. And when I'm under a lot of stress or not feeling good, I'm gonna tell you those teenagers can really get under my skin, and I feel like I'm not giving them all of the information that I could give them because I'm not feeling my best to be able to really do that. But health doesn't create purpose, it supports it. And when women feel well, they lead better, they love deeper, they serve longer, and, they live more fully.
And that is one reason why we are doing the Her Summit. We talked about that, like we had said, the hormones, energy, just a complete reset is sometimes what we all need to be able to live out our purpose, to be able, and your purpose is not always, we've mentioned this before, it's not always what everyone else's is, which that's the whole point of unashamedly you having your God-given purpose. We're not all called to the same things, and thank God we're not, because there's certain things I absolutely cannot do. And I would need a lot of grace if I was supposed to do what other people were doing, but we all bring something to the table. And no matter what, we are all called to something. You have a calling.
That's right.
And it's your responsibility to get in prayer and to figure it out and to find it. And we all have a calling. God has called us all to something. And it is important that we take care of ourselves enough to be able to focus and to fulfill that calling. So, but let's chat about Her Summit. We said that we were going to talk about that some at the end. And what is something that could be expected from people that are going to be there? And why should they make sure that they show up?
Like we said earlier, it's a new year and a lot of people are ready to reset. And that's really the point in this conference. We're looking at that mental, physical, and spiritual health that we're able to reset through this. We're going to talk about sustainable changes in our health that we can implement to that are something that we can sustain throughout the year, not just something that, like you said, ends in February, but strategies to be able to be healthy all year long. I'm hoping that you're gonna talk about that word of the year. That podcast on that just really changed my outlook, and I try to do that every year, find a word of the year. Olivia is gonna talk about different dietary choices, how to change our diet in a sustainable way. Chelsea will talk about the mental and the spiritual aspect of things. So if you're not happy with where you are or you feel like you can change, this conference is for you because it's gonna hit everything. Um, Probably will be some things about being a better wife, better woman, better mother. It's for the single woman, it's for the married woman, it's for the woman who maybe their kids have already grown up and moved out. And it's for those of you who are also stuck in the throes of motherhood. Everybody's going to get something out of this.
I think that's probably the thing that I'm the most excited about with the Her Summit is it is covering and going to help literally every single person. If you are a woman, then you need to be there because it's going to help every person. And I am going to talk about the word of the year and how important those things are. Really, that all just goes to mindset and how important it is. Your mindset is directly connected to your spirituality. It's directly connected to your health. It's directly connected to your mental health, your physical health. Your mindset matters and how you're looking at life matters. And we're going to talk about that at the Her Summit. You may need a reset on your mindset, which is something that most of us need. And it's not just a reset on our mindset once a year and come January, but I'm going to be talking about some ways that you can reset your mindset. If you need a reset every 5 minutes, which sometimes we're going through some things and that's what we need is a reset every 5 minutes. We're going to talk about some ways to make that happen. The thing I feel like that's going to happen at Her Summit is women are going to walk away renewed. And that is really what is so important. That's what I want to see happen from this is renewed in your mind, in your body, in your soul. And we all can take a renewal. The Bible talks about it so much, and it talks about being renewed. And this conference is going to help you renew yourself, your whole self. And so I'm excited, you guys. I already mentioned it's completely free. Thanks to Dr. Mullinax. She has some people that are going to be serving you. It's going to have a meal included. What about that? Tell us a little bit about what time should they get there and what can they expect with check-in? We got some fun giveaways. What can they expect with that?
Sure. So the conference is Monday, January 19th. It's at 6 p.m. We have not announced this actually on Instagram or anything else, but we're going to be offering some discounted consults the day of the event that morning and afternoon. I'm going to be in the office and Liv is also going to be there doing some consults as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, we'll have more information on that on social media on how to get registered for that. Once you get there, you are going to come by my office to actually check in. Um, and then we'll take you over to the venue that the conference is actually gonna be held in, and, there's gonna be some stuff to keep you entertained while you wait for it to start. We're gonna have, a meal prepared. We've got some soups that's gonna be made, some sandwiches, salad. Then, we're gonna get started. It's not gonna be a lecture, it's gonna be a conversation. We want you all to be involved. We've reached out and asked for some questions from y'all, and we've had a lot of really good questions come in. So at the end, we'll probably do a Q&A. Um, but please, please, please register so that we have enough food. Registration is open until that Sunday. So if you haven't registered, please do so. The link is in my bio or on Her Whole Health LLC on Instagram. So both of our Instagrams will have a link where you can register. Again, it's completely free. And like I said, the day of, if you want to do some one-on-one information, then we're going to be offering some discounted consult rates for that.
And if you're wondering how you can listen, is this live? It is actually going to be a live podcast. So we're going to be recording the entire event. If you do have questions that you want, if you need something answered and you're not going to be there, make sure that you message either Her Whole Health or Unashamedly You, and I can make sure and get that out there for you. And this podcast will be aired the Friday after. So on January 23rd, this will be the podcast that will be released on Unashamedly You for all of you to hear about the amazing things at Her Summit. And one cool thing too is Her Summit is willing to travel and to go to different places, to different churches. We've had so many reach out and say, hey, look, we can't be there, but we need this. We need this information. We want it in person. And so if you guys reach out to Her Whole Health or Unashamedly You, I can make sure and we can try to get to where you are. So thank you so much, Dr. Lyndi Mullinax, for being on the podcast, sharing your heart with all of us. Your information is invaluable. It is absolutely amazing that God has given you such an incredible ministry to be able to help the women of God to focus on their purpose, to live out what God is calling and asking of them in a healthy manner, to be able to do it with their whole heart, mind, soul, their body, to be in unison and for God to be able to use us in a special way, because that's all that it's all about. It's all about being able to be used for His kingdom, for His glory, for His honor. And we've got to take care of us and ourselves to be able to do that. So what is one last thing that you would want to leave with the Unashamedly You community today?
Please remember that God did not design us as women to burn out from constantly striving. He designed us for wholeness, for sustainability, and for abundant life so that we can serve well and further His kingdom. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast and for encouraging all of us to live out our best lives, our best selves for His glory and for His honor. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for being with us at the very beginning of this new year and for listening to another episode on the Unashamedly You podcast. I wanted to remind you that growth does not happen all at once. Like we discussed today, it happens in small, faithful steps. So whatever this year holds, you do not have to walk it alone. Thank you for spending this time with us. And if this episode has blessed or helped you in any way, make sure to share it with a friend, and you could leave us a review over on Apple or Spotify. We will see you next week. Keep showing up, keep growing, and keep being unashamedly you.